That was pretty rough.
We did it! Let's go, Amy!
Yeah!
You little thieves! Did you really think you could get out of here alive?
Come and get some, Eggman!
Sonic!
Just leave it to me!
This time, I'll take your lives as well as the Chaos Emerald. I call on you to destroy these pests! Come out, my servant!
I'm plotting my schemes wherever I go. They're perfect in every way. I love to destroy the blue one, you know. He's an obstacle that always gets in my way. I'm always playing this game by my rules. I will conquer the world.
The notorious Dr. Ivo Robotnik, or as he prefers to go by,
Eggman! But how?
He had a little help.
Dr. Robotnik!
Nobody calls me that anymore.
suck on those eggs, Dr. Eggman, the ever-tenacious villain to the famous Sonic the Hedgehog. The classic man versus nature story of video games, as the not-so-good doctor wishes to turn all of nature and its inhabitants into his army of mechanical minions, and sit high on the throne of his envisioned Eggman land. Luckily, the blue hedgehog is able to stop him, bringing nature back to as it should be every time Eggman tries, usually being able to take advantage of Eggman's ever-inflated ego, as well as his bad habit of leaving very exploitable weaknesses in his inventions and plans. That said, Eggman is no pushover. He has a powerful intellect with a whopping 300 IQ, being able to build just about anything he sets his mind to. He's created hundreds, if not thousands, of different inventions over the years, some capable of conquering the world, and others that are more questionable. But regardless, Eggman will be utilizing many of those past inventions to get by in the world of Smash Bros. Eggman himself is not a fighter, he's an inventor, and he uses those inventions to either fight for him, or to help his own fighting ability as he directly controls it. So just like Bowser Jr., who fights using an upgraded version of the Koopa Clown Car, Eggman will be fighting in what can be seen as the definitive version of his ever-trusty Egg Mobile. This version of the Egg Mobile will be outfitted with all kinds of various weapons, all that harken back and reference older machines and inventions that he's used in the past. He would be a super heavyweight, as Eggman himself is a fairly husky man, and that's on top of the fact that I'm sure the Egg Mobile would be a fairly bulky machine, built to protect Eggman who sits safely in its cockpit. He'd have a grand whopping total of 5 jumps, as the Egg Mobile is seen as an aerial craft. Why the Koopa Clown Car can only have 2 jumps, I'll never know, but whatever. He'd also have no additional movement options. Eggman would have a 3-hit jab that would mimic what he does when he used the E-Mech in Sonic Fighters. 2 mechanical claws would come from the sides of his Egg Mobile and would each swing forwards horizontally one at a time for the first 2 hits, and the 3rd hit would actually be a multi-hitting jab, having him swing one of his claws in circles a couple of times, hitting multiple times for small flinching damage before being slightly launched with the final hit. The Doctor's dash attack would have the Egg Mobile roll across the ground forwards. The rolling mech has a long continuous hitbox for the whole duration of its roll, but it would only be capable of hitting opponents once, as it will launch foes a fair distance. This would be in reference to the Egg Ball, a mech that Eggman used and renovated a couple of times in the Sonic Advance series. His side tilt would have Eggman quickly thrust a bouncy bobbin arm from the side of his Egg Mobile straight forwards. It would deal very little damage, but it would have incredible knockback. I made it like this because it would be in reference to the Egg HVC-1, the first Eggman boss fight we see in Sonic CD, which didn't deal damage, but it would keep knocking Sonic backwards. The arm can also be slightly angled. Eggman's up tilt would have him quickly shoot a stream of fire straight upwards from a small flamethrower that emerges from the back of the cockpit. This stream would deal multi-hitting damage before launching foes with the final hit. This would be in reference to both his submarine mech from Sonic 2 and his Hang Mobile from Sonic & Knuckles, both egg mechs that have flamethrowers, though it would be closer to the Hang Mobile since it is deployed straight up. The down tilt would have Eggman slightly lean the Egg Mobile back and poke a small, retractable spike out of the bottom very quickly that stabs forwards at a downward angle. This is in reference to Eggman's Spring Yard Zone mech, which would use the spike on the bottom to slowly take away blocks that Sonic needs to not follow his doom. For his side smash, Eggman would attempt to smash his foes with a giant hammer that he had equipped on the Tonkatchi mech from Sonic 2. The hammer would emerge from the front of the Eggmobile and would swing downwards from high to low vertically, smashing the ground and dealing large damage to any poor soul who happened to be underneath. This side smash would even give King Dedede's hammer a run for its money. Eggman's up smash would have him bring out 2 large drills from both sides of the Eggmobile that stab and drill upwards while slightly leaning towards each other. These drills would deal a lot of multi-hitting damage before launching foes with the final hit. This is in reference to the Drill Eggman 2, also from Sonic 2. The Doctor's down smash would have him use his ever-infamous Hammer Ball, the very first mech he ever directly used against Sonic back in Sonic 1. He would bring up the ball and do a single full horizontal spin, swinging the Hammer Ball fully around himself, swinging it in front of himself first, then behind himself towards the end of the spin. The neutral air would have Eggman spawn 7 orbs that quickly encircle the Eggmobile all around. The orbs emerging would deal large knockback, but after that, the orbs spinning would deal small flinching damage. This is in reference to the flying Eggman mech, used in Sonic 2. His forward air would have a cannon emerge from the front of the Eggmobile and shoot a bomb that flies in an angled arc, and explodes after about 1.5 seconds. The cannon bomb itself deals decent knockback, whereas getting caught in the small explosion deals much more damage and knockback. This is in reference to the Egg Bomber tank from Sonic Advance 2. The back air would have Eggman shoot a quick fireball straight horizontally backwards from a flame cannon that emerges from the back of the Eggmobile. The fireball travels a decent distance and deals pretty big damage on top of being pretty fast. It would be kinda hard to aim, I imagine, though. This is in reference to the Flamecraft mech from Sonic 3. The up air would have copter blades emerge from behind the cockpit and rapidly spin overhead to deal a lot of multi-hitting damage. It would have a decent amount of horizontal range, but not a whole lot of vertical range. This isn't a reference to any one mech, but more so the copter blades that Eggman uses to both enter his mechs and make his escape and fly away whenever Sonic defeats any of his mechs in Sonic 2. And the down air would have a large claw appear from the bottom of the Eggmobile that does a quick pinch downwards while also emitting electricity. The emitting electricity is where the consistent damage of this move is, dealing small flinching damage, and the pinching claw, of course, deals the big launching damage. But there is a sweet spot at the moment the claw is pinched together, and getting hit by this sweet spot would spike opponents. This is in reference to the Egg Catcher from Sonic 2. Eggman would grab with a mechanical hand that emerges from the front of the mech. It would have some pretty good range and can even be used as another attack if used in the air, much like the hookshot grabs from the Lynx and the grapple beam from the Samuses. Me saying the Lynx and the Samuses is gonna be so weird to some people out of context. Anyways, despite the mechanical hand working similarly to those other grabs, it however is not a tether, so it cannot snap to ledges for recovery. This mechanical hand would be in reference to the Egg X mech from Sonic Advanced. Eggman would pummel by having a little boxing glove fly out and punch the foe. This is in reference to the melee attack done by the Egg Walker in Sonic Adventure 2. The forward throw would have the arm lift the foe up to Eggman's eye level, and Eggman would just shoot the foe with his personal laser pistol from inside the cockpit, shooting them out of the hand and sending them forwards. The back throw would have the mechanical arm swing the foe overhead and slam them into the ground behind, bouncing them into the air towards the back. This is in reference to a throw that Eggman can do with the E-Mech in Sonic Fighters. The up throw would have Eggman lift the foe up off the ground with the arm and spit a small bomb out from the bottom of the Eggmobile that rolls right underneath the foe at the same time, then drop the foe onto the bomb, causing it to explode immediately and setting them straight up into the air. And the down throw would have Eggman do a type of suplex to the foe, having the Eggmobile do a small jump and then slam the foe into the ground with the arm, bouncing the foe into the air. This would be in reference to an attack done by the Big Arm mech from Sonic 3. For Dr. Eggman's neutral special, he would use his lock-on missile launcher, the main weapon used by his Egg Walker in Sonic Adventure 2. Holding the special button down will have Eggman emit a thin infrared light straight forwards horizontally, and will only continue to emit this light so long as the button remains to be held down. But the light will eventually die down and disappear if it remains active for too long. Let's say that it'll die down after about 5 seconds. Any foes that intercepts this thin laser will have a lock-on symbol appear over their character. And when the Eggman player lets go of the special button when a foe or foes are locked on, Eggman will automatically shoot energy missiles that will home in on the locked on foes. And he will shoot as many missiles as there were opponents that were locked on, with each missile going to each locked on foe in order of when they were locked on. These missiles deal small damage and cause knockback that shoot opponents upwards. The missiles do move at a decent speed, but most characters can outrun them. The missiles will disappear if they take too long to hit their intended target, but they will always be actively trying to hit their intended targets until they disappear, or of course, hit the foe. Eggman's side special will have him use the Drill Eggman mech from Sonic 2. The Eggmobile will have a spinning drill emerge from the front and pulls out wheels from the bottom, then drives straight forwards pretty quickly. The sweet spot of this attack is the drill, and foes hit by the drill will be dragged along with it, being dealt a lot of small flinching damage, and will only be able to get away when the attack ends, or when they're at a high enough damage to the point where the attack will just launch the foe too far to be dragged. The rest of the mech does have a hitbox on it, but it acts as a sour spot, and will only slightly launch foes that hit it with very minimal damage. This attack would function not unlike Bowser Jr.'s side special, being able to cancel it with the B button to break, or you can end it by jumping for possible follow-ups. Breaking has Eggman stop the Eggmobile sideways, which can be used for a decently strong attack, and if any foe was caught on the drill when you break, they're pretty guaranteed to get hit by it and launched. Using this special in the air will also propel him forwards, so it can be used for recovery if need be. I should also mention that while driving on the ground, the Eggmobile will have a great amount of heavy super armor, being able to power through even some of the stronger attacks in the game. The up special will have the Eggmobile bounce high into the air with a spring that emerges from the bottom of the mech. It's not an attack itself, and it has no hitbox, so it can only be used for vertical recovery, and it will put Eggman into freefall when used. This would be in reference to the Egg Press mech from Sonic Advanced. So between this special and his 5 jumps, Eggman would have some amazing recovery for a heavyweight, even better than the likes of Dedede or K. Rool. And for Eggman's down special, he would make use of his many other inventions outside of his Eggmobile mechs in the form of his infamous Badniks. Using the down special will have Eggman spawn one of 5 Badniks from underneath the Eggmobile, and they will always come out in a set order. These Badniks will behave just like they do in the Sonic games that they're in, and can be destroyed by taking too much damage, or will automatically explode after 15 seconds, which can deal damage to both foes and creator alike. Eggman can only spawn one Badnik at a time though, and cannot spawn a new one until the one currently on the stage is destroyed. Of the 5 Badniks that Eggman can bring out, the first will always be a Motobug. Motobugs quickly drive back and forth on the stage or platform that it was spawned on, and that's it. Just touching the Motobug deals small damage, and getting hit by it as it moves deals a little bit more damage than that. The second Badnik that would appear after Motobugs would be the Buzz Bombers, and they would fly around randomly and shoot small energy bullets at a downward angle at random times. Again, just like with Motobugs, just touching Buzz Bombers will deal small damage, and getting hit by their bullets deals a good amount of damage at knockback, but they should be easy to avoid. After that will be Burrowbots. As soon as a Burrowbot is spawned, it will immediately burrow into the ground, and can be seen burrowing around. If spawned on a platform, it'll go straight down through the platform and keep going down until it finds a solid stage to dig into. It will stay underground until it manages to get close enough to a foe. From there, it'll jump out of the ground at them for a sneak attack. From there, it'll just move around left and right until it's destroyed just like the Motobug, but a little bit slower than Motobugs. And it of course will deal small damage to foes who touch it while it does this. If the Burrowbot can't find a foe to jump out at before the 15 seconds are up, it'll automatically jump out of the ground and explode as soon as it does. The next Badnik will be the ever-infuriating Slicer. This Badnik will not move from the spot where Eggman spawned it, and it'll throw its pincers into the direction of the nearest opponent. The pincers will fly a fixed distance before boomeranging back to the Slicer, but the pincers can be destroyed before they can make it back to it. And if it is, the Slicer will have nothing left to live for and will automatically self-destruct. Good riddance. And the final Badnik to appear will be an Orbinaut. These guys will slowly float left and right by the spot where they respawn with 4 spike balls orbiting around it. These spike balls will deal decent damage to foes who touch them of course, and the Orbinaut will slowly shoot each of its spike balls straight forwards horizontally one at a time. The spike balls travel a pretty far distance before disappearing into a tiny explosion, and it would take around the 15-second time limit for the Orbinaut to hurl all 4 spike balls, meaning of course that as soon as it shoots that 4th ball, it will self-destruct. These Badniks may sound like a huge hassle to deal with, but I will mention that Eggman does in fact have a finite amount of them. He'll only have 3 of each Badnik per stalker life, and whenever one is destroyed, it will take away from how many he has left to use, as if the animal used to power the bot got away. So once he goes through 15 Badniks, he won't be able to spawn anymore. However, Eggman's stock of Badniks will replenish whenever he respawns, as if he quickly captured more animals to use for its hamster-powered robots in the time it took for him to respawn. Despite all of that, all of these Badniks would be great tools for pressure, but keeping an eye on them and getting rid of them quickly would be the best way to make sure that you don't get overwhelmed, which overall would be Eggman's greatest asset. being able to overwhelm his opponents, using his wide variety of tools to keep his foes on their toes, and taking total control of the stage. It's something that would be very easy for Eggman to do, just like when he tries to take over the world. But like when he tries to take over the world, he can be thwarted, and that leads me into his biggest downfall, or should I say, his biggest gimmick. Eggman, of course, relies on his inventions to get ahead, and relies on his Egg Mobile to properly keep up with the other fighters of Super Smash Bros. So one can only imagine what would happen if Eggman were left without his Egg Mobile. Actually, don't bother trying to imagine it, because that's his gimmick. Eggman, for the most part, while in the Egg Mobile, would take reduced damage from all attacks, as the Egg Mobile would be the one taking all of the attacks. But the Egg Mobile would have its own damage meter, and it takes normal damage from opponents' attacks. And once it takes a total of 80% of damage, it gets destroyed, leaving only Eggman to fend for himself. I chose 80% specifically in reference to how most Eggman boss fights need to be dealt 8 hits in order to be beaten. But that aside, when the Egg Mobile is destroyed, the poor Doctor will be left with his second, but much worse moveset. While he's mechless, he will run much faster than normal, but he'd only have 2 worse jumps and would only have 2 attacks. He wouldn't even be able to grab. He'd only have his basic movement, jumps, shields, dodges, a single basic attack, and a single special attack. That's it. His single basic attack would be a pretty weak slap that mimics his attack that we see him able to use in the Chow Garden of Sonic Adventure 2. It could only hit forwards, and that's it. It doesn't matter what direction you're pointing, he'll only attack in front of himself. His new special is a little bit more useful. Kinda. It would have him shoot his little pea shooter laser gun, which he is able to fire into any chosen direction based on controller input. But it is still pretty weak and only deals small flinching damage. Something else that's also reduced while Eggman is by himself is his weight, becoming more of a below average heavyweight to above average middleweight character, meaning that he will be easier to KO while mechless. Overall, the best thing to compare this gimmick to would be D.Va from the game Overwatch, whose mech can be destroyed and is forced to defend herself, also with nothing but a little gun. Though in Overwatch, D.Va is able to get a new mech to spawn by getting a kill with her little gun. Eggman will also be able to get a new Egg Mobile, however unlike D.Va, he won't need to get a kill to get it to spawn, so don't worry about that. A new Egg Mobile will spawn at a random spot on the stage after 12 seconds, and if Eggman is able to get close enough to it, he'll automatically jump into it and regain his main moveset. That said, opponents can attack the Egg Mobile, and be able to deal damage to get a head start at destroying it again once Eggman does get back to it. Or they could even destroy it before Eggman gets to it at all, forcing Eggman to wait another 12 seconds for another to spawn. Just hope that it spawns closer to Eggman and not the opponent, and you'll be fine. If Eggman is KO'd while out of the mech, he will respawn back in a new Egg Mobile automatically. And if he's KO'd while an Egg Mobile was sitting on the stage before he can make it to it, the Egg Mobile will just disappear as Eggman spawns with another one. Overall, fighting Eggman in Smash would be very much comparable to his boss fights in general. He's great at dealing pressure and taking full control of the battle, but if you take advantage of his weaknesses, he'll be pretty easy to beat. Dr. Eggman's final smash would have him use one of his most iconic creations, the Death Egg Robot. This final smash would work very much like Bowser's current final smash in Ultimate. Fitting, since Bowser and Eggman are seen as iconic villain counterparts, just as Mario and Sonic are iconic hero counterparts. Eggman, upon activating his final smash, would fly away and reappear in the background behind the stage, but now controlling his powerful Death Egg Robot. From there, a large amount of lasers and missiles will begin barraging the stage and dealing small flinching damage to opponents. All the while, a reticle will appear as the Death Egg Robot holds up its arm. Once the player presses the special button, or automatically after 5 seconds, the robot will do a quick and powerful extending punch into the spot where the reticle is, dealing big damage and knockback to all opponents hit by the punch, and KOing them automatically if they end up with higher than 100% of damage when they get hit. Eggman is able to use this final smash even if he's lost his Egg Mobile, and when he does, he'll automatically get a new one once the final smash ends. Eggman's default color would have him in his usual red outfit, with his Egg Mobile in its usual gray metal colors. His first alternative color would give him a blue outfit, and give his Egg Mobile blue metal colors, in reference to his by far most powerful creation, Metal Sonic. His second could give him yellow colors, and the Eggmobile yellow and red colors, in reference to Eggman's current right-hand robots, Orbot and Cubot. Here's a green color scheme, in reference to E100 Alpha, aka Zero. Here's a white color scheme, in reference to Eggman's grandfather and creator of Shadow the Hedgehog, Professor Gerald Robotnik. The next color scheme can give him the colors of Eggman Nega, Eggman's descendant from the future and/or his alternate dimensional counterpart. Sonic continuity is bad. Anyways, for an alternate costume, it can change Eggman's appearance to look like his classic look, and this costume could have a single alternate color, giving him a pink outfit with polka dots and green pants while making his Eggmobile orange tinted, in reference to one of Eggman's earliest concept arts. Now, he could very easily have other alternate costumes that give him his other appearances. The ones that I've mentioned are just some examples for now. The Doctor's stage intro would have him simply fly to the stage in the Eggmobile, but he would do so in a way that's reminiscent of how he enters his boss fights in the 2D Sonic games. His first taunt would have him look towards the screen and chuckle, in reference to what he does in the classic Sonic games. His second would have him stand up in his cockpit and do a taunting motion while saying,
It's no use, give up.
And his third taunt would have him fire some blank shots into the air from his blaster and say his infamous line,
Get a load of this.
And for victory animations, his first would have him bouncing up and down on his Eggmobile with his arms in the air and say,
Now you know why I am the best.
a direct reference to when Eggman beats and gets A ranks in levels in Sonic Adventure 2. His second could have him fly in, get out of the Eggmobile, then plant a spinning sign from Sonic 1 into the ground that ends on his face, and be laughing as he does. This one was actually my friend Raushutsu's idea, so full credit to her for this one, because it's a great idea and I had to make mention of it. And his final victory animation could have him fly in, but then stand up in the cockpit and begin juggling all of the Chaos Emeralds while grinning. A clear reference to the bad ending of some of the classic Sonic games if you aren't able to collect all of the emeralds before beating the game. So not only has Eggman beaten you in this Smash match, but now he has the power to take over the world. Great job, hero. But on that note, that does it for Dr. Eggman. While I did do Shadow and Tails before him, and I do personally like other Sonic characters more than him, I do think that if any character should become a second Sonic rep for Smash, it should be Dr. Eggman. Not just to add another villain to the roster, but because he's been around just as long as Sonic, and is by far one of the most important characters to the Sonic franchise aside from the Blue Blur himself. With a character like Eggman, there's just so much creativity that can be put into a character like this. About as much creativity as the inventions that Eggman makes himself. Anyways, with all that said, if you— oh shoot! You know what I just realized? I did a whole video on Dr. Eggman, and I didn't make a single egg pun! Okay. Here's one. If I were to master Eggman in Smash, I could say that omelette smarter than I look. What the? Hello? I'm kind of in the middle of something.
Really, BJ? Did you just say that? You just got 20k subscribers. You really want to chase them away with your terrible pun work? Okay, no, I can't work with this. I'm canceling your show and sending all the funds viewers to wildlife reserves, alright? You're done. Out.
Okay.
Anyways, if you enjoyed what you saw and would like to see more characters be given possible Smash movesets, be sure to subscribe. And if you have a character you would like to see given a Smash moveset, leave a comment down below, or contact BJ on Twitter at BrawlFan1 on Twit. I hope you all enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching.